Okay, here we are. I'd like to introduce to everyone my good friend, spiritual sister, Ivonne Delaflor. And we go back a few years. We met in a mutual mastermind with one of our mentors, Kevin Nations, who really infused us with a lot of wisdoms, who's a master in his own right. And then I got to meet with you, and my wife and I, we just immediately fell in love with you, your depth, the clarity, the joy that you bring to the world, and the incredible gift you are and powerhouse, spiritual rock star. You know, you've really experienced so much in the world. So I could go on, but please welcome. And I'm grateful that you're here, and everyone who's here, very grateful for you all being here. Take a moment, Yvonne, and kindly share something about yourself, who you are, just so that we have a little taste.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for hosting me here in the Warrior Sage community. This is the only Facebook page that I feel like I'm in a ashram, like I'm in a place of both of worship and of training. You know, it feels like I was recently, a year ago, we went to train with the Shaolin monks at the Shaolin temple. And when you invited me to come here, I was like, whoa, I had the same feeling. So, well, hello, everyone. Those of you who don't know me or this body of mine, my name is Ivonne Delaflor. I've been a family constellator therapist for like over 20 years, a psychosomatic trauma release practitioner for over 20 years now, rebirther, futurist, which I love because I'm in the niche of spirituality, and I love every time I share about the future, it creates polarity and collapses pendulums, which we probably will talk about that. But I've been in the path of spirituality since the age 12. Very quickly at the age 17, I had a near-death experience that brought me back to life. And actually right now it's coming back so strongly for me, that experience. I recently had an experience that I literally just came out of the car where at 17 I died. It's an interesting thing on these times. And I've been serving the community, being a philanthropist for 20 years. I'm a producer of a network television in Mexico that is all philanthropic based for higher conscious education. I'm a mom of 3, homeschooled all the time. So my kids right now, that is the homeschool chaos for many and bliss for some, you know, they are used to this. For them, it's like, this is no big deal. And had wonderful 2 husbands. I want to mention them, you know, just to pay tribute to where my children come from, and a lot of challenges and a lot of chaos in my life. But that chaos brought me to the calm and peace that I'm able to tap into far much easier this time. So I hope that introduction serves.
Wow. Any one of those we can expand and dive right into. I want to dive right into the future.
All right. I love it.
We got so much going on here, and I want to know what's in your spirit to share about where we are and what you feel we're moving into, and how as we as individuals can face this, be part of this, include ourselves in something that's forwarding, moving, positive.
I love that question, because you said, I'm going to start with the moving part, because the future is the present moment that is in state of expansion. So we can experience life in 2 ways, which is very similar to the womb. Either we contract or we expand. Both are needed for rebirth. You see, there's no contraction in the womb. You know, I had 3 kids, and you know, no one was born without a contraction, but the contraction signals the expansions. It's just natural law. And the future is the expansion of the contraction, which we call the past. And what it births is the present moment, where we have the ability, where we have the ability to birth ourselves into different coordinates of experiences and create and design and sculpt new realities in the here and now. So what I'm seeing right now is a lot, you know, in futuring, in this system that I've been trained for over, wow, almost 17 years now. And that this is the moment where I'm, you know, going to teach it. And actually, you know, a lot of my posts of futuring have been removed I have no clue why, but they have been removed right now. But that signals to me, that contraction signals to me that that's the timing, that's the expansion. Antagonistic forces are always the cheerleaders of progress. They don't know it, but in our hearts we know it, and nature shows it. But what I see right now is the womb of darkness for many, the contractions of deepness, of adequacy, of so many years of being lukewarm humans. And we are experiencing something that we all created. Maybe you, Satyan, did, and maybe I didn't, but maybe one of my mentors, Tim Roberts, says maybe it was not our fault, but it's our responsibility to move this forward, because we're experiencing it right now. So what I'm sensing, futuring wise, is that multiple futures are birthing in this moment. We have a massive birth, we have massive contractions, and we have also the promise. It's all those futures are already here. We are delayed in our perception, because some of our beliefs are so outdated. Some of the beliefs that our ancestors used, that were based on natural law, required to be reinstalled in the GPS of our soul, in the futuronometer of our consciousness. We got to literally, right now we're being imputed either externally the coordinates of the futures we're going to live into, or we're going to choose right now to impute our own coordinates to create the futures we want to merge with. So I'm seeing that the future is leading, obviously, in one side, in one parallel future, parallel realities, artificial intelligence, it's algorithms taking over, everything, even Facebook or Instagram, that a lot of my posts are being removed, and I don't put anything like very cataclysmic or anything. I just put things like, you can create your reality. You can design a parallel existence in this moment. You can still speak up and not be killed, but those are algorithms. That's the artificial intelligence that is an extension of our consciousness. If I see artificial intelligence as an enemy, I am going to go into a ride of a pendulum that is going to attract myself a future which is similar to the past. Oppression, victimization, not speaking up, conformity, lukewarm, being part of the herd, being part of the sheep. And very soon I will begin to get hypnotized by my own choice, Satyan. Blaming it on the external, but it was my choice all along to enter into that reality. So I'm experiencing multiple futures rebirthing or birthing themselves right now. And I'm also experiencing a rise of the masculine power right now. I know many people are talking about the feminine rising. I really believe that the feminine already rose. That power doesn't need to keep telling the story that we need to rise. We already are there. Our energy, our ability to sustain, to nurture, and to hold the space for the masculine to be birthed is already there. For me, what I'm seeing in the future that is so exciting is the call of the new warriors like yourself, that you did that live stream the other day, that I was like, oh, this is the calls for war, and not the war that is antagonistic, but this is the call for the war of the human spirit, to rise, to defeat the demons within, to speak up, and to stop being the puppets of a puppeteer that we created. So I'm really excited for that. I'm a mother of sons, and I really feel that there's a lot of the masculine rising right now, and a lot of restoration in the feminine principle of nurturing, of allowing, of carrying ourselves as queens. I recently reused that archetype, and keep an open heart, no matter how hurtful or woundful the story will be. This feels like a duty right now. The future that I'm experiencing right now, because I can only feel it, I don't know it, I'm just entering into that with feeling, is quite brilliant. And it's quite a future like kind of a resurrection and of restoration.
Thank you. You mentioned something very powerful, that the feminine has already risen. It's already here. I can see it all around me as this nature, as this land, as Gaia, as the earth plane. So it's funny to say that it's time for the women to rise. But I understand that also from one perspective, but that you really pointed out that it's time for the masculine or the male consciousness to arise. I'm very much alignment with that. You know, the way I look at it is the old, so, you know, there's a lot of negativity around masculine energy as well, patriarchy and such, for proper reasons, for correct reasons. But the way I look at it is when we throw out the baby with the bathwater, then it doesn't work that well. There's stages of growth in the masculine. There's the me, the old school male, if you will, a lot of spine, less heart. There's the new age masculine, a lot of heart and openness, but less warriorship and spine, sort of flowing all over the place. And then there's the new rising of the masculine, a strong spine, meaning grounded in integrity, in personal power, in benevolent power, in being an alpha, benevolent alpha.
Yeah, remember Kevin used to say that.
Right, in our essence. But then at the same time, simultaneously to have an open heart of love and embrace. So I'm with you in the sense that we all need to rise now to our full expression of our divinity, of our humanity, and that there should be no distinction. We are that one complete experience. I'd like to ask you, you mentioned the term pendulums. I'm familiar with that. And we talked about this. So please share with everyone what are pendulums, how do they work, and what we can do about them.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm the expert on this, but what I do, I do want to pay tribute to you on that many years ago, you presented to us a body of work called Transurfing, which I truly believe is for these times. That book is just a masterpiece of this one focus, which is the pendulums. It really specializes in the law of pendulum. You know, what is going to go left will go right. What is going to go up will come down. You know, everything we do will detonate a focus of our importance. Right? I put my importance right now on my children being homeschooled, or I put my importance on my business, or I put my importance, etc., etc. So whatever I put importance to, I'm going to energize where the pendulum is going. That's why, if I'm going to watch all the news and all the opinions of that, there's like gazillion opinions right now going on. I'm going to be putting importance to that, but the pendulum will eventually go to the other side. There's not only one side of a pendulum. We live in a world of duality so far. We live in a world of polarity, which is beautiful, and sometimes it's painful and dark, and it has the thorns and it has the petals of the rose at the same time. But whatever we give importance, it's going to either liberate us or imprison us. And so the pendulums, what Transurfing says is that you can still engage in that, but without putting over importance to that. It's kind of the tantric dance. It's kind of like, can you be in creative mode, in choice mode, but also not be attached to the outcome? Can you be okay if you are defeated or if you conquer? Can you, in this, it's called lila, right? The play of consciousness. It goes to the left, to the right. We have good moments, we have bad moments, the darkness, the light. It's just going. Can we just witness it? Can we be an observer and still a participant on what's going on without giving too much importance to something? Because the moment I give too much importance to something, I sacrifice myself in that one belief. I sacrifice my brothers and sisters too, Satya. Yeah. The moment I make you wrong because I have importance of being right, there's just more chaos, and the pendulums will feed people, systems, governments, etc., that are they're like parasite strategies feeding from the energy of a pendulum that is given over importance by the people that want these things to end. So it's a very delicate subject to speak, because it's something that you got to really go within you, and you really got to be disciplined, to master yourself and your mind, and study universal laws, and study how nature works, to understand that why is it for some people it looks so easy and so effortless, when others are like overanalyzing or overthinking. And it's because nature shows us that the path of progress is to yield. right? That's the Tao Te Ching. And it's to yield, it's to be open and still be active. I think we're in time, Satya, that we are living the sacred scriptures. We're not reading them anymore. We read them for so many decades. We train on those principles, and suddenly, whoa, we're part of a chapter of the Tao Te Ching right now. We're part of a chapter of the art of war, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Bible, or transurfing right now. But the pendulum is, whatever you're doing right now, coronavirus, governments, lockdown, you got to find a way where you can still, you are a participant, you understand there's a pendulum, but you become an observer that is actively present. And it requires a lot of work because the pendulum hypnotizes, it brings a hypnosis, a massive hypnosis that is occurring right now. That's the coronavirus success. It's a massive hypnosis that we all somehow agree one day, okay, we will go with this pendulum.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for that. My understanding of pendulums, and to reiterate, it's from a body of work that I utilize with all my teams, all the trainings and mentoring I do. It's a body of work called Transurfing, and it's by the author name is Vadim Zeland, Russian. You can find this on YouTube, and we can put the link in. And wonderful teachings, very full, expansive teachings on really the universal laws of reality. But dialing into the principle of what a pendulum is, the way I experience a pendulum or understand it, it's a thought form that gains momentum. Just like if you have a snowball and you put it at the top of the hill, it starts to move down the hill and gains momentum. And pendulums are energy systems, thought forms, belief systems, which at first could be mild, but then after they build some momentum, they want to have more adherence. They want us to follow, they want everyone to follow them. And they do their best to elicit followers. And when that pendulum gets stronger and stronger, it'll do anything to have more and more followers. Now, what makes it a pendulum is that our attention goes towards it. We may get drawn in, as you shared, and be hypnotized by the power of this force that's growing. Left-wing party, right-wing party, people against for this particular idea of what's going on with this virus and other people's idea. These are pendulums. And if we give them energy, they get stronger. Now, there's two ways to give them energy: by our adherence to the pendulum, and number two, by our againstness of that pendulum. I can't believe what they're saying. That's crazy. Those people, they should be taken out of power, whatever. Eliciting and allowing yourself to be for the pendulum, this body of mental, emotional, if you will, hypnotic thought form, obsessive, it gets stronger and stronger. But as you shared, when we can observe, detach, let the hooks go, let ourselves not be the Velcro, the other side. A pendulum's like Velcro, it's got hooks, but we have to be fuzzy enough to be stuck. But if we don't allow that, and we stay centered in our being, walk very calmly and centered, this is much easier, much harder to do, but we got to do it. And as you said, this is a time of living scripture where all the teachings are now to be embodied. Whatever our greatest knowledge is to be embodied. So
we gotta walk that path. We gotta walk those scriptures now. We are the scriptures. I see God writing the new scriptures through each of our actions right now. And one of the things of the pendulum, if I understood well, that when we're engaged in the pendulum, we're really emotional, and our emotions will cost us highly. But the pendulum cares for no emotion. It actually feeds from it. As you said, it doesn't care if you're in terror or if you're happy. Whatever it is that keeps it going, because if it collapses, which is what we want, eventually as an observer and still a participant, is a lot of work, because you got to stay calm within and active without. You got to be both the calm and the storm at the same moment to be able to collapse those pendulums and create opportunities and create new realities, which is, and surf the waves instead of being, taken by the tide or the wave itself. That's why it's transurfing. You surf the wave of reality, and you actually arrive to a very peaceful beach of your own creation, but you gotta do that work. And something that Ladim says that I was studying it yesterday. It says you can choose, but you cannot change what is going on. You got to accept it, but keep choosing, keep wanting, keep focusing on what you want, your end result, more than your internal desire of like, oh, I wish the world to be released from this darkness and let's send power to the poor people. That's just going to keep you more in the pendulum. But stay in that choice point, stay in that vision, stay in a way in that future that you want to call forth into you and that is pulling you through, because that's a way to use a pendulum purposefully. If I'm going to be in a pendulum, I want to live in a pendulum of my own creation.
Yes. Beautiful. Over the last few weeks during this COVID crisis around the world, what has been coming to your doorstep, your students? What have they been facing, and how have you been sharing? What have you been sharing to be supportive?
Well, I've been more busy than ever before. I think, my work, because one of my body of works is to help people just really master their use of their central nervous system. Very simple, but it's not as simple as when we have been trained to live through the amygdala on fight, flight, or freeze. When we do not understand how our parietal lobes work, our prefrontal cortex work, and how the intelligence of the heart really, more than being just a spiritual, beautiful, poetic thing, is actually something that helps us rise as a human being. But right now, a lot of them, they are really establishing themselves in their central nervous system, being the calm, because I would say right now that all of my students are in high leadership positions, and many of them are here in the Warrior Sage community. And most of them are coming for future. They are no longer interested in the past. They are honoring it. They understand it, but they want to move forward. They know they're carrying wounds from there, but they don't want to waste time in spending their next 20 years in trying to heal from the wounds of what the COVID and the government and all of the theories, whatever is happening now. They want to move forward. They want to think futures, build futures, design futures, and be more present in the now. And they want to not engage in all the drama, just heal the trauma, but not be part of the drama. But I find this very consistent. It's every single person. And one of the things that I'm very in awe right now is that I have, for the first time in my life, well, also because I'm 48 years old now, but I have millennials seeking for my guidance. So I'm kind of entering into the ancestral woman, right? I'm super proud of that right now. And now that women cannot hide their grace, I love that. Now we're going to be seeing the queens arising, right? The crowns and all the powerful sensual energy of the feminine rising. But I'm beginning to receive a lot of 25, 27-year-old clients that are so focused on, what are we going to do when it's next, Ivonne? What are the programs? What do you think we should do next? They're beginning to ask the questions like, because they are experiencing, what are we going to do with the trauma of people when they come throughout after this experience? So we want to create something new. They're saying, we're not interested in the influencer movement. We do not like the likes philosophy. There's a new era of new young people that is rising. So I'm seeing all of that. I'm seeing the need of leaders to really be so strong and to have this voice like what you shared, that live stream of yours. I wish, I know it's in this page, but I wish everybody will see it again, because you placed a call of action to the soul. And that can only come from someone that knows himself and herself. So that's something that my clients are doing even more. Someone that is non-apologetic on both his darkness and his light, has take ownership, embodied it all, and has a commitment to walk forward with this grace that only the warriors can walk with. Only the ones that have opened their heart. I really feel it's so easy to say, and it has been so poetic and Shakespearean before, but now the courageous, the sword is the heart.
Yeah.
The shield is the heart. The embodiment of the kingdoms and the queendoms is working together, right? Synarchies is we're leading into a future in synergy and synarchy, and this is what I'm seeing with my clients. They are building now movements that is not about them. They're genuinely caring about the contribution they will do. They're not using legacy now as a marketing strategy. They're using the present moment as what can I do now to build new futures for those I come to serve. If it's one, if it's 10, or if it's a million, those are the ones that I'm going to serve. So this is what I'm observing in my body of work and the clients I'm serving right now.
Thank you. What do you feel as a society? Of course, we can boil it down to us as individuals, but what do you feel as a society are the top 3 things to tackle in terms of mindset, attitude, collective alignment, collective cohesiveness? Like, what are the top 3 things that we need to move in and focus on?
Wow, what a great question. Oh, and to put it in 3.
And you can start with 1. That might be enough, but
well, number 1, I really hope that this global happening brings us back just to the simple fact of being an educated person that doesn't need the school just to be graceful and respectful towards one another. You know, it's very simple, but the respect just to, if you see a trash on the street, pick it up. You know, it sounds very simple, but it's amazing that with the technology we have, we still are excusing ourselves to put a piece of trash on this earth. And I mean, not only the piece of trash physical, but emotional and mental. Anyone that still is using excuses and justifications not to move forward in their life, I feel that is outdated. So we got to be the kind neighbor right now to each other and say, wake up. You are still, using old ways and they're not going to work anymore. So that's number 1. Number 2, we got to really say no. I think no is going to be such a portal for manifestation and creation right now. The word no, it's going to, it's like, I receive so many messages because I go out to walk of like, why are you walking? You are an influencer, Ivonne. You shouldn't be. Like, how dare you be so irresponsible? I get messages like that. And you are going to get the virus. I'm like, wait, no. I can walk because once upon a time I had a near-death experience and I was told I will never be able to walk. So I collapse that pendulum immediately. I respond differently. But really, we're required to say no to, even if it's, if someone comes to me with a story of drama that, everybody's going to die, no one is ever going to have money, you should do everything for free, I'm going to say thank you and no. I honor your choice of belief, but I'm going to move forward with mine. It's kind of selfish, but we need more of that right now. We really need humans embodied right now in the body that are not like just after the whole, I'm going to save the world. I just want to embody myself in this incarnation, because in that moment, we're going to release God from the prison we have created of him and her inside our soul. So that will be the second. Oh, dear Lord. And the third one, or dear Lordess, the third one is just really, we got to open to our own sensuality. That's coming through me right now. We got to make love to earth, to humanity, I hid myself for so many years there, Saturn. And I have such a range, as the feminine. I have such a power and a vulnerability in me. I have such a darkness, so strong. My darkness, that's why my light, for many people see my light so brilliant, is because I own my darkness. And the more I own my darkness, the more people see and perceive it as power. But we got to make love more with creation. We got to make love more with life. We got to laugh more. We got to, we got to return to the chivalry of romance in God every moment. And in that romance is the ability to say F off to a lot of ideas and a lot of people and a lot of very unconscious situations that are occurring because we chose immature teenagers to lead the countries. We were the ones that chose. It was comfortable for some of us, have someone else lead while I live a simple life, while I live a life of apparent freedom. We are seeing right now with the results we're living is that freedom was not there. You know, so we require that. So the respect, honest no, which is boundaries, and then make love with creation, make love with life.
I love it. Just letting that all land and infuse me and open me. You shared a very potent piece about what I call the sacred yes and the sacred no. The sacred no and yes, many times we have the world we have, as I shared in that video that you saw. The world we have is based on what we tolerate.
Yes.
And so many of us in the spiritual realm have been taught to not have a no, to continuously say yes. And there's a spiritual gifting and growth that can happen by saying yes to many things. But it's the ambivalence. It's the non-saying yes, the non-saying no, being a passive, not a witness in terms of witness consciousness, but just being a passive, as some people would say in a derogatory way, sheeple. And
Yeah.
no one wants to be identified with a sheeple, but unfortunately, many of us have got a part of us that has not said, yes, we agree with that, and no, we won't agree with that. And so they've let within themselves, I've let within myself, many of us have let within ourselves systems arise around us, leadership arise around us that, as you said, do not have the spiritual or emotional maturity to lead the world into a more positive direction rather than just personal interest or interests of certain factions. So I'm with you. The idea of cultivating an aspect within ourselves that says, yes, I will tolerate this even more, but it's conscious, it's chosen, it's volitional, it's thought of. You've put discernment into your yes. And the same holds true for discerning no. Enough is enough, not from anger, but from strength, from the knowing that if we continue to go down that particular road, it'll be harm, devastation to ourselves, our families, to society. And so I'm with you. I believe that strength, that clarity, and with heart openness and with discernment, conscientiousness, to cultivate a strong no and a strong yes. Just that sacred no to a lot of the things that are happening on the planet. If we all start saying no to it, those in the positions that are taking advantage of our not saying anything will have to listen, because the strength of our collective no and the strength of our collective yes is felt, known, and respected.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I'm answering a yes. I love that you call it your sacred yes and sacred no. I call it the honest yes and honest no. You know, and but it is true. You know, I love. I'm just letting it. I'm also receiving, and it's so powerful for me to receive that, and it gives me a lot of hope. My whole being tells me there's brilliant futures coming just because of what you said. And these calls to action, you're really putting very powerful calls to action to the soul of humanity right now, Satyan, which is we got to unite in the collective no. That hasn't happened. We have the opportunity as a civilization to be the civilization that either comes out into the future generations as the civilization that just perished because of a virus, or the civilization that, wow, they took a stand and they implemented the honest no, so we could all say yes to life, yes to progress, yes to community, and yes to us, which is happening, you know, which is the ascension of the species, is the opening of the heart. And with the discernment part, which is a lot of us in spirituality, in the niche of spirituality, where what you said is so powerful, because it's we are trained, that's tame spirituality. That's just domesticated spirituality, which serves no one. You know, you become like a sheep. You think you're free. You think you're super enlightened. It's ego, spiritual ego trip. I've been there so many times. I just don't like that trip anymore. You know, it's not a place that I like to visit. But it turns us into ships because we chose never to say no. We chose to give into a Photoshop reality We chose to sell an image of who we pretended and wanted to be. And those in the government that will listen to our no, why will they listen? Is because they will wake up from their hypnosis. They're just hypnotized. They're just the same. They're feeding the pendulum. Just they are not focused on the emotional aspect or the spiritual, so they feed the pendulum and they benefit from that pendulum. But that doesn't last. So that I love how you said that power no, and that embodiment of the no. It's just not saying it. Is being it. Is feeling it. Is holding that space so strongly. Is as a feminine, I tell you, this no feels like the walls of the uterus. The stronger the walls of the uterus, the deeper the contraction will be for the child. But the deeper the contraction, the stronger the awakening. Because what the contraction does in the body of the baby is it squeezes it and it tells him it's time for you to be born. It awakens the cells, the DNA, it pumps blood to the heart, and then the expansion comes and the birth takes place. So, wow, you know, I'm receiving too, you know, which is part of my duty right now, receiving and nurturing and nourishing and holding sacred space right now for as many leaders. I want to be specific as possible.
Thank you, sister.
Yes, thank
You
you.
know, I want to give an example of what we've talked about.
Yes.
I remember it was a few years back, my business was audited, tax audit. And there was discrepancies, of course, in what they said and how much we calculated. Well, lo and behold, I ended up in the tax office, went into a private room. They keep you separated from the down floor. They take you up in a security area where, you know, it's very secure, because I'm sure they experience a lot of people in upset states. And so they have their secured spot. So I'm there and I'm sitting with the auditor. And he's very strong. He's very, if you will, on the edge of antagonistic, intimidating, aiming to intimidate me. It takes a lot to intimidate me. So I'm just sitting, I'm sitting there, and he's trying different ways. And God bless him for his role and his purpose and his work. So be it. I'm not against that. But I was not for his attitude and his
Yes.
approach and his lack of respect. And what happened was, as we were chatting, my daughter called on the phone. I saw her name on the phone, and I said, hold on a minute. Now, my daughter and I have a rule. I could be in the middle of some show. I could be in the middle of a meeting. When she calls, I have that connection with my daughter, because she lives on the other side of the country in Toronto, to pick up the phone. So I said, please excuse me. I'll be right with you. I took the phone call just to make sure she was safe and sound. She was. I said, I'll call you back later. Put the phone down, and he started ripping into me regarding, hey, we were having a meeting and this and this and this. And he was just like getting angry that I had disrespected this meeting. And I said, no. I centered my energy. I felt the pillar in my spine go down to the roots of the earth, which was my practice in that moment. I opened my heart. So not in a lovey-dovey way, but strong spine, open heart, so he can feel me, not my anger. He could feel there's a being here. And I looked at him right in the eyes and I go, I'm happy to do this transaction. In no circumstances ever will you speak to me or ever tell me to interrupt a phone call with my family. Period. Now let's continue. Anyways, he was like, and I just told him, with piercing eyes and open heart, solid spine, under no condition will you ever do that again in these meetings. I'm happy to follow through the procedures as we need, but never underneath this duress or attitude. Anyways, he humbled up. He just became quiet. We did our transactions. Now get a load of this. 3 years later, I received a Facebook message.
Oh.
Mr. Raja, I want you to know that the way you spoke to me really moved me. I've been following you for a few years on Facebook, and I was ashamed to say that I was in a bad attitude. That shouldn't have been the attitude. And I want you to know that I profusely apologize for my behavior, and that I would like to know how did you find that center? And can you direct me to teachings, things that I can do so that I could be aligned and I can be a more good man on my job? And I was like floored. Now, if I mentioned his name, he could lose his name. You are not supposed to have personal interaction outside of that in his position. But I felt so blessed that my stand in that no, not making him wrong, but making my values, my space a yes, the way I want to work. The way I work is, the way you need to work with me is. That's the yes in which I'll have this agreement, this flow. That it caused in him a chain reaction to change his ways.
Yes.
So if that can happen in a context of a very entrenched heels in job, which is traditionally known as not a job that people like you in, and that
Right.
he opened and bloomed his heart. Imagine what we all can do if we all feel the injustices in the world and not be against them, but before something even more profound.
I love that, Satan. You know, it's that reminds me of two things. Number one, Mother Teresa, both Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela. And I'll share the Nelson Mandela one that I always share because he was so acquainted with futuring this man. But when he comes out of jail, he's interviewed, and it was Tony Robbins interviewing him, and he said, Mr. Mandela, how did you survive 20 years? And he did this. He stopped him. He's like, young man, you offend me. And so he, boom, all the energy shifted. I was not in jail 20 years in prison. I was 20 years studying the behavior of my fellow human beings. So you will never say that again. That's one that is very similar to what you just shared. It was someone, and he, you know, injustice took place in his life, like right now is happening for many of us, some of us, not all of us collectively. But this was a man unjustly, you know, put it in jail, and he says, you know, you offend me. I was not there for that. And Mother Teresa too, I'll say it because that's from the futuring too. She was interviewed once too, and they wanted to get the mud out of her, the anger. They wanted her to speak bad about war and about it was the Palestinian war. They wanted for her to speak about, you know, what feeds the media. Let's speak about all the negativity so we can raise the ratings. And so if we have Mother Teresa say, I'm against this and the Palestinians are evil, and they said, Mother Teresa, what do you have to say against this war? And she was like, you misunderstand this. I am not against war. I am just in favor of peace. Now, please move that I have to take these children and those women out of the way before the bombs come down. And she went in with her boss. It's a very famous story. Took out the women, took out the children. They stopped the war for like 20 minutes or something like that, and then they continue. That's when the pendulum stops. That's when we collapse pendulums. That's when we create new modalities, new realities. Gandhi did that too. He collapsed a pendulum of war, of liberating India by choosing to do something no one else has done. I'm going to fight a war with a weapon of peace. And try to kill me if you want to. Your weapons cannot kill my peace. And he was so smart. He used discernment, hard silence. He kept training. He kept doing his inner work. But he won. He was shot by violence. He was all these things. But he won because he won. You know, the art of war says you win the war before it begins. And if we as collective right now, we get that. Like, okay, we won it. How? With our choices, with our ability to rise, with our elegance of spirit. I wish I could have a word to transfer to people the importance of elegance in this moment. And it's not the elegance of a brand. It's not the elegance of the car we use or how fancy our media is. It's the elegance to know that we have such a power in our human spirit. You know, James Allen he has a verse that I always share. He says that when spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. Yeah. What gods? The envy, the separation, the jealousy, the injustice, the greed. Those gods will be humbled at our feet, and we got to rise like that. We cannot be saviors right now. We got to be conquerors. So I got passionate, Satya.
Oh, 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 thank you. I'm going to invite everyone just to let this all in. There's more than words we're sharing here.
Hmm.
It's an art, it's a skill, it's a way of life. It's a continuous practice, it's a continuous evocation, it's a continuous rededication daily to your deepest truth, to the Dharma of life, to the sanctity of life, to the sanctity of humanity and all beings. And you know, in the warrior traditions, you get knocked down 3 times, you get up on the fourth. You get knocked down 5 times, you get up on the sixth. As you said, there is no cessation. There's the continuous upliftment in whatever we arise in.
Yes.
Please share with us, you know, what you're up to and how folks or friends can get in touch with you.
Okay, so you can find me in social media for now. You know, Ivonne, and in Instagram is my name, Ivonne Delaflor, Ivonne_Delaflor, Facebook, Ivonne Delaflor. My website is the name of my company, delaflorteachings.com, and it's named like that to honor my ancestors, to honor my father. I gave it the name of my last name just to be able to remember where I'm coming from, who I am right now, and what I want to leave into the future generations. So it's delaflorteachings.com, my last name, and you can find me there, or just send me an email at Ivonne@delaflorteachings.com.
What's in your heart to complete us off today? What's in your soul?
Thank you. I'll just say a quick prayer if it's okay with you. For everyone here listening, for the future generations that are already existing, for all of us ancestors of the future generations that we're already. Infinite divine intelligence, divine space of oneness, infinite mind of the divine, heart of the divine feminine, at oneness with the divine masculine. We today pray knowing, rising, as warriors that we are of truth, of peace, of benevolence, but also of higher discernment. We know that the futures that are coming for us are demanding from us to rise as warriors, as kings and queens of our own discernment and of our own choices, that we have the power to speak up, that we have the power to lead on, because this is a time for leadership, and that this is a time to say no to any pettiness, to any low frequency that may distract us from the path of our own heart. We know this has been so. We know this will continue to be so. So be it. Aho. Amen.
Oh, bless sister. Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
beloved brother. Thank you, everyone.
Love you. Love
Love
you.
you. Thank you so much.
All our love, everyone. Bless.
Bye.